All right, Alita, we have to start the meeting. Okay, this is a special meeting of the Flagler Beach City Commission, sitting as the Community Redevelopment Agency. It is Thursday, September 24th, 2020, at 5:15 p.m. And I will ask the mayor to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of June 25th. Any discussion on the minutes of June 25th? I had two questions, one of which resulted, I guess, in this chart that we got, because in those minutes it talked about the costs for the different options on the parking lots. So now we've gotten those, and I guess at some point we're going to discuss what we want to do.
Chair, I was just speaking to Rick about this because not all of these parking lots need all of this attention. A lot of the fences are okay on most of them. I think it's the North 8th one, and I think this is, I don't want to say overinflated, but I think this could be brought back. I know we need to bring our parking lots up to code, but also with the committee, Flagler creates, is that what we're called? Ken and I are on.
Flagler creates.
They wanted to do the murals and, get some signage and stuff like that, but first we said we had to get the parking lots in order. So, yes, we will have to discuss this at some time, but I think this is way over.
Well, this is how much it would be if we did all of these things, I guess. So
Yeah.
what we need to discuss is which of these things really need to be done, do we want to get done? So I guess at the next CRA meeting, which isn't for another... December, okay, so we'll have an actual action item on the next, yes?
Now, I was just to ask Rick a question. So what you did was on this, this is the worst case scenario if you have to do maximum to everything, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So there's obviously room in there for us to bring it down. Okay.
Okay. And then also in that minutes, it talked about getting a grant for the wick line windows and doors. And I was told yesterday we did apply for that grant and we didn't get it.
Correct. We applied for it, did not get it. I understand there is an individual with emergency management who we're going to try and get in touch with. He supposedly has some leads for different organizations that we may be able to get grants from.
Yeah.
So Lee is going to follow up on that. I gave him the name today.
Okay.
I had spoke to Jonathan Lord about that. I asked Larry Newsom about that a couple years back, about the mitigation grant. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Storm mitigation grant. And he told me there's a waiting list you have to get on, but you have to have an estimate of what it's going to cost. And I don't think Larry ever put that together, Larry Newsom.
I don't know.
So I was told at the time, of course, Jonathan Lord had just pretty much started over there at that point in time, but he knows about those mitigation grants very well. And the county got one for quite a bit of money, and that 75% grant. So that building does need windows, and at some point I'm sure we'll try and do it. It will save a lot of money in air conditioning and heating over
Sure.
time. And 75% is a lot better than 100%.
That's good, yeah. Is that something you think that Rick ought to look at?
Well, that's what Rick's talking about. He's going to try.
Oh, that's the one that you
Yeah,
said.
he's going to
Yes.
try and touch base with Jonathan and see what the procedures are, because he's very well versed in that.
Okay,
And I have had some people come in and start to put some numbers together for us on the cost of replacing those windows. The only drawback I have is they're the old double hung windows, and we have to pull one of the windows apart so that they can see if and what there is to fasten the new windows to.
oh boy.
Well, it's not all that difficult. It's just we need to go back in and caulk and paint once we put it back together. It's not a major deal.
It's not, it sounds like it is.
It's just having the time to get over there and gently take them apart as old as the windows are.
Yeah, sometimes you can actually put, don't mean to interrupt, Rick, but sometimes you can put the window inside the casing that's already there, and sometimes you can't.
Yes.
So that's what you're talking about, right?
Yes,
So if they're able to put them inside the casing that's already installed, then it's a whole lot less work and a lot less money.
Okay, so maybe by our December meeting, you'll have more, or
we'll
somebody,
take a good run at it.
okay.
Chair, I have
So-
a question.
Yes,
Going back to the parking lots, Rick, crushed lime rock and asphalt topping, I'm assuming it's one or the other?
Yes.
Okay, can you talk about what is better and what would last longer? I mean, obviously asphalt topping's less expensive.
Well, the asphalt is going to take a lot more maintenance. Crushed concrete, not so much. Actually, some of the lots, I couldn't see why we couldn't go in with a front-end loader and grade them out. Grade out some of these lakes that we have in the parking lots.
The crushed lime rock is usually an underlayment of sorts, for lack of a better word, for the asphalt. And that gives you a good solid base to put your asphalt on top of, correct, Rick?
Well, they usually use a lime rock for that, for a base for asphalt.
That's what it says, crushed lime rock.
Okay. But they also use that, there would be no reason why you couldn't go in and do the crushed lime rock, roll it and leave it.
Or even maybe millings.
Millings,
Yeah.
yes.
It would be more pervious than the crushed lime rock, correct?
From what yes, it's going to be pretty hard. I know Larry had pursued trying to find millings for some work that we wanted to do on some of our parking lots. And he was saying it was scarce as snail's teeth. I mean, everybody, when they do millings, they hang on to them.
Okay.
Basically, what they do is they have a machine that just comes in and peels up a portion of the asphalt paving off of the roads or parking lots, and they reuse it.
all right, so in any case, there'll be more information by the next meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we actually know what we're looking at. Okay, Eric, do you have anybody else have anything? Yes,
I asked Rick again about that monument out there in Veterans Park, if we can find a professional.
we're just talking about the minutes of the last meeting.
It's in the minutes of the last meeting.
It is. Oh, yes, it is. I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I believe he's going to check and see if there's, I mean, somebody has to know a way to clean these things. Cemeteries certainly refurbish them to some degree, but it's a bit embarrassing to have Veterans Park and a monument out there you can't hardly read. So I would hope that maybe we could make sure that gets done.
I
That's just me. but,
actually have not been out there to look. Is that granite, Rick?
It appears to be. Appears to be granite, Rick. yes.
Okay. It just so happens that we do have a staff member whose son works at a granite company, and maybe we can get a hold of them and have them come out and take a look at it. Maybe they give us some direction on it.
I'm good with that.
Good.
That's as long as everybody else is. I just wanted to- Okay.
Good. All right, Ken, you have anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay, Linda? No. Okay, anybody in the public wish to address the minutes of the last CRA meeting?
Yes.
Seeing none, I'll close public comment and look for a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of June 25th, 2020.
Seems like 100 years ago, doesn't it? Okay, we have a motion and a second.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, the next item is Resolution 2020-31.
Resolution 2020-31, a resolution by the City Commission of the City of Flagler Beach, Florida, sitting as the Community Redevelopment Agency, approving the fiscal year 2020-2021 budget for the Community Redevelopment Agency, fixing appropriations therein, proposing expenditures thereunder, and determining an effective date.
All right, this is all stuff we kind of settled during our workshops, and now we have to just approve it like a public hearing for a regular budget.
Right.
Anybody have any questions or concerns?
I just have, just curious, we're putting most of our money from the CRA back into reserves, is my understanding, right?
Mm-hmm.
Other than the loan that we're paying down. So at some point during the year, if we decide we want to do something with that, well, then we can come back and create a budget.
Amend your budget, absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I've already talked to Rick about a couple of ideas.
And
that I've had.
I had
I'm
one
sure
or
you
two
have,
as
yeah.
well, yes.
So, yeah,
Maybe someday we can have that discussion. Maybe at our next meeting, we can have a line item for that.
or at the next
suggestions.
CRA meeting, yeah.
Okay, that's what I meant.
Yeah, okay. So I guess we're going to have to schedule that next CRA meeting as longer than 15 minutes.
Yes, I believe so.
Well, if there's stuff to put on it,
Yeah.
I do, but you,
Right.
Well, that's two things at least that we just added.
Right. Okay, anybody else have any comments on the budget? Anybody in the public wish to address the CRA budget for 2020-21? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Look for a motion.
Do you have to read in the resolution?
He
or
did.
not?
Oh, he did.
Okay, sorry.
So I'll make a motion, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-31.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Bryan?
Yes.
Commissioner Belhumeur?
Yes,
Commissioner Cooley?
Yes, the motion.
Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Chair Mealy?
Yes. I forgot to
Motion to
say,
adjourn.
turn your phone off. Motion to adjourn.
yes. Motion to adjourn.
Hmm?
You can go right into the next meeting, you can't 5:30.
Okay. Yeah. No, I got 5:29, but okay. You don't need time, Penny, to switch anything over, or? No? Okay. This is the regular meeting of the Flagler Beach City Commission. It is Thursday, September 24th, 2020, and it is 5:30 PM. We will continue until all items are complete. And I'll ask the mayor to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence to honor our veterans, members of the armed forces, and first responders.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mayor, you have a proclamation for us.
Yes. Are you here for the proclamation?
Yes. You guys just want to come up to the podium there and I'll read it?
This is a proclamation declaring September 2020 as National Recovery Month. Whereas each September, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration sponsors National Recover Month. And whereas the 2020 National Recovery Month theme, Join the Voices for Recovery, Celebrating Connections, explores how integrated care, a strong community, sense of purpose, and leadership contribute to effective treatments that sustain the recovery of individuals experiencing substance use disorder. And whereas substance use disorder is preventable, treatment is effective, and people can recover. And whereas to help more people with lived experience achieve and sustain recovery, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, and Flagler Open Arms Recovery Services invite all residents of Flagler County to participate in National Recovery Month. And whereas relatives and friends of individuals with substance use disorders can implement preventive measures, recognize the signs of problems, and guide those in need to appropriate treatment and recovery support services. And whereas the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration encourages residents to participate in National Recovery Month to learn more about how to help people achieve and sustain long-term recovery. And whereas Recovery Month celebrates the gain made by those living in recovery. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the City Commission of Flagler Beach, Florida, assembled in regular session this 22nd day of September 20th, that September 2020 is in Flagler Beach is hereby proclaimed National Recovery Month. And
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm Pam Bertolo, and I am the president of Flagler Open Arms Recovery Services. We are a recovery community organization new to Flagler County. I'm honored to be here, and we appreciate the commission declaring this proclamation, and we look forward to working with you in the future. And this is one of our many members, Michael Feldbauer.
Yeah.
Madam Mayor and Commissioners, I've been here before, and I thank you again for inviting the recovery community back for this proclamation for this very important time, and to help our community understand that we have an issue and that you have groups in this community that are working to help resolve it. It is not an issue that will be resolved totally with government. It's an issue that will be resolved with communities working together. And the Recovery Community Organization, Flagler Wars, is one of the major contributors to that has been developed in this community. As you know, a couple of years ago, we started with the countywide opioid task force, which is now developed into the Recovery Community Organization. And because of the help that we've received from the parent organizations to help put this together, we're seeing great success in growing our organization. And we hope to call upon the citizens of Flagler County and Flagler Beach to join us in that success. Thank you.
Thank you for all that you do for us, for the community. Deletions and changes to the agenda. We will not be hearing, first of all, under the consent agenda, the minutes of the workshop meeting is September 3rd, not August 6th. And
We do not have the September 10th minutes,
We
so it's
don't have
just
the
the
September-
September 3rd.
Right. And number 11, we will talk about that one when we get to it. Number 12 has been pulled. And I believe that's it. Yes, Penny? Those are the only changes, right? Okay. And the Mr. Hadid, if you will catch us up with what's going on.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Mayor, Commissioners, and city officials. Thank you. I'll give you an update. I have, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4 items to mention. Number one, the general is that we continue to cooperate with the partners we've been working with. A different dimension to that labor is that the clients that are represented by the eminent domain attorney would like to have all of the assurances that we have articulated to various owners be of benefit to his clients. And we have no objection to that. And the way we're going to treat that, and when I say assurances, you know what I mean. In other words, we're not planting sea grape. We're not impacting the views. There's no change to the individual's right to traverse their property to the beach. There's no right of the public to use their property to get to the beach. Those kinds of assurances.
Al, can I just interrupt you?
Yes.
This is the one you're doing eminent domain on?
No, this is
Oh,
for all. I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry.
Well, actually, that answer might have thrown you off. Okay, there's a body of owners that are represented by the eminent domain lawyer from Clearwater. Okay, I'm sorry, so I'm identifying that group.
Okay.
Because they're the most numerous of the groups that we have to bring in, right? And GoFundMe has been working with them, but one of the things that they want to have the benefit of, which is not outlandish, is they want to have the benefit of all the assurances that we have been providing. Some of those, as I think you know, they've been in the form of letters from the county administrator. Some of them, one of them is in the form of a resolution. Some of these have been appended to the easements, the assurances, depending upon, how much the person wanted, the owner, that is, to have confidence in the assurance. So what we're going to do is, we don't want to, one of the things we tried to do is not treat different classes of owners differently with respect to what we're doing or the rights we're extending or not extending, et cetera. So we're just going to promulgate a resolution that applies to all the easements that we have secured, that provides all the property owners equal assurances relative to the subjects that we've addressed. Okay? And so we'll be doing that at our next board meeting, which is, roughly 2 weeks hence. I'm not sure what that date is, but it's the third Monday, whatever that is. So we're working with our stakeholders in developing that, okay? So that way they all are working on a level platform as far as what the project is going to entail, and the impacts are not to their rights. Okay, so look for that. And otherwise, there are paperwork issues that we're working through. That's one of the significant, quote, what I've been calling a paperwork issue. Number two, you all know that we've just weathered some very heavy erosion, a lot of storm action on the beaches due to the stalling of two major fronts. It's not a federally declared event, but nevertheless, it had very sustained, our beaches had very sustained exposure to them, and we've had a loss of sand. I don't know how much sand might have been lost in Flagler Beach. Our engineering department is doing that analysis. But what came out of that is very interesting. As you know, we installed emergency sand berms in the north 12 miles already. We completed that work in February 2019, and then Dorian came along in November 2019, and kind of upset that work. So but it largely held, and we went and did some maintenance, and we had to get easements from everybody, just like we're doing here. We had 200 properties, and there were 11 holdouts. And it was not an Army Corps project, it was not a DOT project, it was Flagler County. And we needed to get it in post-Matthew to protect our communities up there. And so this event occurred, and one of the owners who had not signed the easement, and we did not therefore install an emergency dune berm, there was a breach. So in other words, the water rushed through the breach. You know, I've talked about this before. And this occurred in Commissioner Greg Hansen's district. I think you all know who he is. And Greg Hansen, his district is up in the Hammock, part of his district. And one of the communities that he represents, well, all the commissioners represented, but one of the key communities within his district is an older subdivision called Marineland Acres. It's on the ocean front, it's east of A1A. It was platted in the mid-1970s and doesn't have all the stormwater protection built into the project. So what does this breach have to do with Marineland Acres? Marineland Acres popularly in Flagler County was called Submarine Acres. I don't know how many know that myth. I see some heads nodding, yes, they know. Means you've been here a long time. You're almost a native, or you're learning fast. So part of that was because they didn't have any stormwater system. And then we have since, as you probably know from news accounts, we've been working very hard. You know, we did an overlay district. We're in the middle of a project now. And so what happens is when the breach occurs, the water gets, it messes up that property where it hits, but then the water's got to go somewhere. If it's still pouring through, guess where it goes? It flows south and it goes into Marineland Acres. And so it's the consequence of these breaches is very significant. Now, here, you know, we're not going to permit any breaches. You know, that's our position, and that is the position of the Army Corps. But obviously, the impact here is going to be maybe some of that, but probably a more likely outcome is that it's going to undermine the road. That's probably the consequence of a breach that would happen. So anyway, that just underscores the importance that we need the easements across the board. And number three, in that regard, we are still pursuing the eminent domain case against the owner, the one owner who owns a remnant in the south 2400 block and the south 2500 block. We are still attempting to work on that to try to avoid it. You know, it's not something we want to do, but it's something that we're going to do by necessity, and we're taking those steps. There are certain steps we have to take to get there. Now, you know that the south 2700 block is being treated differently because there are a number of holdouts. You already know that. And you know that it's going to be an alternate bid when it goes out to the contractors as far as doing the dune restoration at 2700. The reason it's an alternate is because we have a lot of breach points in the 2700 block. And we're working on that. It's not a static, nothing is static here. But the sentiment as expressed by the county commissioners, and as I think you know, you probably heard me speak about this, the county commission is committed to doing everything that is within their power to have the dunes restored in the south 2700 block. Our administrator is going to be shortly addressing a letter to those individuals to let them know the point that we are reaching and that they need to get signed up, or they're going to deal with whatever the consequences of that is, because we are committed to doing that work and not leaving it out. Can you imagine that we go all the way down to the 2600 block, stop, don't do the 2700 block, pick up on the 28th South 2800 block, and go to the Volusia line? That is inviting a huge catastrophe. I mean, I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I were doing that project and my legal work did not result in a completely protected beach. I couldn't live with myself. So we're gonna do that. Now, here's my fourth point. I wanted to tell you about there's a lot of rough roads that we've had to go through. People had a lot of different issues. We had some very tough, let me just leave it at that, very tough situations that we had to deal with. You've heard some of the allegations, like, I don't know, I strong-arm people. Ann Johnston, our tax collector, strong-arm people, I don't know, whatever. All that kind of stuff. And I think you know me. I think you know Ann Johnston, and, we're not of that kind of personality. I'm a gentleman even to people that may not deserve the respect. That's just the way I operate. So what I've encountered, so what's the bad thing? What I've encountered, I've got an owner. He's not represented by council. He's down on the 2700 block, and he is actively doing everything he can to undermine the accomplishment of this project. We are not sitting idly by, but all the issues that he has raised, we've addressed. And I just want to, this is a little bit, I've done this before, myth busting, and I may have already done this on some of these issues, but pardon me, he continues to do this. He is telling owners they don't need to sign because the Army Corps is going to give them sand anyway. They'll fill in their property anyway. And I think you all know we're in a day, now that might have happened, that could have happened 20 years ago or something, right? But we're in a different day and age. There are strict rules, property rights. Florida's a very strong property rights state. And you all know that we are not going to apply dune restoration sand or vegetation on a property unless we either own it, or you gave us an easement, or we otherwise have an easement, period. No ifs, ands, or buts, and the Army Corps is not going to do that. So he is actively telling people this, knowing that it's false. And I provided that assurance in writing. That's an example of an assurance. No, that's not going to happen. They won't allow it. Okay? Another is, and you've probably heard this, we've talked about it a couple of times, that even though our landscaping plan does not have sea grapes, even though we've said we're not going to plant sea grapes, even though we have declared publicly in writing, in resolutions, and every piece of paper that we have that addresses this project, that we are going to preserve the open views to the beach. Why? Because that is the essence of Flagler Beach. We are doing the project in keeping with the culture of Flagler Beach and the fact that it's a national scenic byway. But those arguments fall on deaf ears, and it's going to be some group. It's going to be the Army Corps that's going to come back, and they're going to start planting sea grapes. Or, I say, no, they're not, because we are the recipient of the easement, and all of you probably heard me make that argument. We are the grantee, not the Army Corps, not FDOT. That makes a huge difference. So it's going to be over our, quote, dead bodies that somebody is going to somehow change the landscaping plan, okay? So then the argument is, well, they're going to sneak in, and I'm serious, they're going to sneak into the night. Some environmental group is going to sneak into the night and start planting sea grapes. Now, what I've told some owners that he has said that to, I said, look, if that happens, you call Flagler County. Once one of the owners said, I'm just going to go out and chop them down. I said, you don't have to chop anything down. If something like that happens, you call us up. You call us up. And I don't know that they might not call you up, but if they do, we build this project, you call us up, because we're lawfully allowed to go there and remove it. You might have DEP problems, not because you're not nice people, but because we own the easement and not you. Of course, if you want it, we might give it to you. No, I'm just kidding. The gentleman's experience comes from a situation that happened to him in a community in South Florida where an Army Corps project came through, and they planted sea grapes. And sea grapes are native down there. They're really not native here. The only reason they grow here is because we haven't had a freeze in a while. Well, if freeze comes, that's it. All of you know, many of you that lived here, right? So they planted sea grapes, but down there they're native, so they grew up, and sea grapes can become literally like trees, and so it blocked his view, and he moved away from this community, and he's worried that this is going to happen. You don't need to go talk to this person. I'm not asking you to talk to this person. I'm going to tell you, you'd be wasting your breath. We have just exhausted our discussions with him. A number of people have talked to him. A lot of public officials from Flagler County, and I'm sure that he has engaged I know he's engaged a lot of local citizens who tried to reach out to him. So he's going to be one of those people, really, we're probably going to have to initiate eminent domain proceedings to take his property. It's a real sad statement, because that just, makes it all the more difficult. And I think, and I've told this to owners, and I'm willing to say this publicly, I've said it to him, so it's not something that I'm not saying for the first time. I'm just really concerned that because he is one of the holdouts, I'll just use that phrase, that if he is going to become the lone holdout, in other words, everybody else is going to sign, and he's going to be the last person standing, the approbation that he is going to earn from the community is going to be very significant. And I think he just doesn't want to be that, he doesn't want to end up being that lone holdout. That's all I can surmise. I've spent hours talking to him. I can't tell you how many emails I've written, letters we've written with assurances. So we're going to deal with that. I wanted to alert you to that because there are no other owners that fall into this category. He is singular in that regard. So I just wanted to tell you that to make you aware of it. Now, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
There are still four down the south end.
The thing is that if I tell you, these are very delicate discussions.
Okay,
They're very delicate discussions. We're doing very well, but for a few.
okay,
How about that?
that's good.
Chair, I have a question of Al. Al, the remnants at 2400 block and 2500, the owners, do they have legal counsel? I'm assuming they're aware now of the eminent.
Not to our knowledge, no counsel has contacted us on that person's behalf. That person hasn't called us. We've offered to meet with that person. We've offered to, sit down and answer any questions they may have. But we've not had any communication.
Anybody else have any questions for Al?
No,
Okay, Al, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you a lot.
thanks for coming out.
The next item on the agenda is comments from the public on items that are not on the agenda. If you have something you wish to talk to us about, please come on up, give your name and address. You have 3 minutes to talk to us. No. Bye. I guess nobody wants to talk to us. So we'll close the public comment section and move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is the minutes of the workshop meeting of September 3rd and the agreement with animal control. Anybody have any comments on either of those items or want to pull either of them?
No.
Yep. Anybody in the public wish to discuss these two items? Seeing none, I'll close public comment and look for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as, with the exception of the minutes of the regular meeting of September 10th.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Moving on to general business, appointments to the Economic Development Task Force.
And I'm just gonna tell you right now, because it just dawned on me like a light bulb came on as you said it. I have not emailed any of the applicants.
Oh,
I see Paul's here.
Paul's here, yeah.
That is totally sorry.
Should we put it off to another meeting?
You can, they don't have a meeting right now. I mean, I blanked on it. It's my fault.
Oh, you've had enough going on.
I just realized it when you read it out loud. I was like, oh, yeah.
Well, since there are more applicants than seats, what do you guys think?
I think they deserve a shot at coming before us and,
Yeah.
expressing interest equally.
I'm sorry. It really was my fault.
It's okay. Like you said, they don't have a meeting coming up for a while?
Well, they've been having trouble agreeing on a time, but they're okay. They're fine for right now, yeah.
Okay,
I mean, we have another meeting October 8th, and I think that's before their regular meeting time anyway.
okay. Everybody all right with that?
Yeah.
We don't need a motion for that.
You don't do anything at all, then Penny will just put it on another agenda. You don't have to do anything.
I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. As long as we can
Paul,
do
I'm
it
sorry
another
if you
time.
caved for that. I'm
We
sorry.
can do it another time. It's, okay. All right, moving on. Number 10, we have a request from our finance director. We're looking for direction regarding the waiver of late fees and penalties on the utilities.
Right, and I brought this up at your last meeting when we did the declaration of emergency continuation, because that was tied in with it. And I think your direction at the time was to keep it on as long as the state had one going. But I think the mayor said, well, maybe you should look into that, get some staff comments, so that's what Kathleen said.
Hey, good evening. I sent you guys all an email earlier yesterday and just kind of stated the facts that, we have 141 customers on our shut-off list, and of those, 81 have not made a single payment since July. And we've only had 5 people set up payment plans with us, which, since I'm on public, we offer payment plans for people that are having hardships, where we will take your current balance and divide it by a certain number of months based on your situation, and we do not charge interest, and then your responsibility will be to pay your current bill plus the payment plan that plus the 1-month installment of that plan. I looked at some of the numbers, which that's what I like to do. So, our accounts receivables, which is the balance of what's due from all our utility bills. And on September 23rd, yesterday, that balance was $193,000, almost $194,000. So I went back and looked at last year this time, same date, it was $134,000. And I factored in, the fact that we had some increases to base fees, which would make the amount higher, of course, but basically we're 27% higher on our accounts receivable. And this 23rd is after due date, so,
Right.
we're getting up to that range I don't like to see. I also talked to my colleagues in Volusia, Flagler County through our little FGFOF chapter that we have there, and I found out that really everybody has reinstated penalties and shut-offs starting in July. And Palm Coast has reinstated shut-offs back in July. They're currently not charging any interest or fees on past due. So, my suggestion is we definitely need to start some shut-offs, because, some people are just getting so far in the weeds that it will be very hard for them to recover if they don't start. And I also know some people are abusing it because they know it's out there. So I think that shut-offs, we've instituted forget what you would actually call it, but it's a computerized thing that generates a call to your cell phone. It leaves you a voicemail and also sends you a text regarding, when your payments due, things like, we can set it up for many different things, but we use it for shut-offs. That's how we were able to do away with the manual hanging of tags. So we use that, we implement that for many things, so we do those kind of reminders. And we will still continue to offer the payment plans.
I have a question.
Question.
Debbie?
Kathleen, if we shut off these individuals, what's the process to get them reinstated? So if they pay their bill,
Well,
is there like a
That is
reinstatement fee?
Our current process is I'm sorry, I didn't review it very well, but we shut off, you're on so you're notified that you're on a shut-off list, and you have 3 to 4 business days to get in and pay your past due balance. Now, we could do a little bit of, say you have 3 to 4 days to come in and set up a payment plan or pay your past due balance. If you do that within the time allotted, your water is not physically shut off.
Okay.
So you know that your account's going to be shut off. You have it's usually 3 or 4 business days to come in before 10 o'clock and make the payment. And then if you don't, we add a $50 penalty to your account. And our current ordinance says that you are required at that point to pay the $50 plus everything that you owe.
Great, thank you.
Eric, anything?
I do, but I'll wait.
Rick?
How do we implement this? Did we do that by resolution or something, or?
By motion, I think.
Okay, so we would just do the same thing and to reverse it? Okay, that's my only question. I agree totally with Kathleen. I think we ought to follow her suggestions. She's the one taking care of our money for us.
Ken?
What is the average? I know that everyone's water bill varies, but what is the average bill that, just kind of guessing? I mean, how much individual might be behind now? These individuals here, what do we talk about, $200, $300, $400 behind?
Yeah, some of them are more than that. It just depends on the situation. We have some
Okay.
commercial accounts that are behind,
Wow,
and,
okay.
it's hard to, it's just like taxes, same thing. Hard to say what's the average. Some
Okay,
people like
I
to
was just
shower
trying to get an
more
idea.
than others, I guess.
Yeah, I was just going to say, there's several commercial accounts as well. And businesses, the majority of them are up and running. There was the CARES Act money for both businesses and individuals. And I know Maria did reach out to individuals to let them know that they could apply for that money and that, the water bill could be paid. So I think they've gone above and beyond what they need to do. And I say we can move forward with this.
Eric?
I think it's time to start doing this, but I'd like to see it incremental. I think we should move forward with zero interest or fees right now, and also offering payment plans, zero interest or fees, and then, but still do the shut-offs and that, but I'd like to see us do that first, and then as the, all the steps the government has at the state level, when those get lifted, then we can go back to fees and interest and penalties and all that. But right now, I think we need to move forward with that step, but not with any of the additional fees on top of it. If you have somebody who is in a hardship, to tack on a bunch of fees and interest and everything else is just going to make it worse. I'd rather them just pay for what they use, get caught up, and then we can look at the other stuff later.
Yeah, I agree with you, except for the $50 to turn it back on again.
You want to not charge?
I would want that
want
to
to
be
charge
charged.
that.
If we actually get to turning it off.
Right.
I know that involves more staff work
Exactly.
to turn
You
it
have
back
to go
on.
out there and turn it off and then go back and turn it on.
Yeah, so I agree with no late fees
Okay.
and that, but I do think we should charge the $50
Okay.
turn on, turn off fee. Rick?
We're still offering payment plans with zero interest. So why would we not charge the fees for the people that aren't paying their bills? I mean, they have an option where there will be no fees because it's not getting shut off. If they have, I don't know, I don't think we should renege on the fees as well, because they have an option to get on a payment plan. The water stays on, there is no fee, there is no interest. So the only ones that would have to pay the fee is the ones that don't take up the offer.
Well, aren't there
Yeah, so
late fees?
we're extending
Late
it.
fees and
There are
stuff.
late fees.
So yes, if you do not pay your bill when it's due on the 20th of the month, and let's just say your bill's $200, the city charges 10%. So there's a $20 late fee. Then if you don't pay that bill, you're still not on the shut-off, but your past due balance accrues 1.5% interest, and then you don't pay your following bill, so that gets another 10%, and then it just goes on and on. The 1.5% current bill, when it's not paid, 10%.
Well, how about no late fees if they get on the payment plan?
Yeah, I think that's what we're saying, that if they do the effort of getting on a payment plan, then there would be no.
Well, if people get on a payment, I mean, if they get a shut-off notice, they're gonna call us. They're more than like, or if their water gets shut off, they're definitely coming in. So, I mean, I didn't think about, the structure of our system, if we can do all that, everything's automated through the computer. I mean, I know that we have a way, if somebody sets up a payment plan, that we do not charge any interest on their past due balance. That's doable. But can we intermittently, so to me, it's like if we start doing this, somebody that's kept their bill current, now they don't pay it, they forget or whatever, they should get their, the fees. I'm just thinking we should go forward doing everything. That would probably be the simplest thing. Either do it this way, go forward doing interest and fees for everybody, not on, if you set up a payment plan, and then, forward either that way or forward no interest or penalties for anybody. Still do the shut-off fee. So that's a choice. Does that make sense? I'm sorry, sometimes hard for me to spit it out. Either everybody gets interest and penalties, no matter if they were currently on this shut-off list or 2 months from now they haven't paid their bill. Either everybody doesn't or everybody does on the fees.
Ken, did you want to say something?
I guess what kind of bothers me is that only 5 people have set up a payment plan.
Yes.
And that kind of gives me a signal here that the city's been taken advantage of.
Yeah.
So I think the scenario that you use, I mean, once the waters turn off, they're going to definitely start screaming. And I mean, I have a lot of sympathy for individuals that have had some issues, but, I mean, I have rental properties, and if you can't make your rent, you just call me and say, I can't make it. But if you don't call me.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And we really do, our utility billing manager, Maria DeSalva, does a really good job of working with everybody on an individual basis and trying to do the best that she can for these people to get paid. I mean, we could do something like possibly just reinstate the shut-off fees now, and then maybe 2 months from now, revisit to do fees for everybody.
May I ask Kathleen a question? Sorry, Chair. So would it be possible in your system for the interest charges to accrue? And then if you have somebody come in and set up a payment plan, could you then waive those interest charges, back them back out?
Yes, we can do that.
That might incentivize some people to actually come in and enter those payment plans if they were getting the benefit of having those late fees forgiven if they enter a payment plan. So that could be helpful to both the city and in the long run them, just to kind of keep that pressure on to incentivize them to come in. And it lets them be relieved of it if they come in and take care of what needs to be taken care of.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of what I was,
Yeah, I think we all kind of have in mind that there are still people really suffering. I know there are people taking advantage, but that there really are people who are having troubles. So I think that would kind of help everybody out, which, yeah, okay. but we would still charge them if the water actually gets turned off. We would still charge them the $50.
So just charge shut-off fee. So I'll wait.
The shut-off fee.
motion, or they have to make a motion, correct, Drew?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments?
I think I just have one last question, Kathleen. These 141 customers on the shut-off list, has Maria been communicating with them at all? Or have they received an electronic message to their cell phone?
Yeah, they
have.
They get their messages,
Okay.
yes.
I mean, obviously, they know they're not paying their bill, but I didn't know if we were actually, okay.
Anything else? Anybody in the public wish to address this?
Paul Harrington, 1769 North Central Avenue. Do you know how many people are outright avoiding not paying, or how many just don't have the means to pay?
Well, no, not really.
Would it be wise to maybe look into that? Because I know there's a lot of people in town that haven't got their tax return, that haven't got stimulus, they've gone to unemployment, they've been lost in that system. People that are trying to get assistance can't get, the state is failing. Maybe, it would be kind of adding insult to injury to go after people that, are up
But-
against the wall.
We're not really going after them. We are willing to work with them and set them up a payment plan as long as we normally go out as far as 12 months. So if you owe $600, that's $50 a month, no interest, plus your keeping your bill current. So,
If somebody's taking advantage of the system, you ought to go after them.
well,
How do you know? You gotta ask for their tax returns?
Got to find out. But Maria could find out.
well,
They won't
I'd
answer
ask
the
that.
phone.
yeah, yeah.
They
it's-
know they owe bills and they don't answer the phone.
Yeah, I could see a lot.
I don't think
And once again, there was the CARES Act. And
Right.
and
I
Maria did
believe
reach
there's
out to
still-
people to let them know to go apply.
Right,
So-
and we have told people, I get calls as well, and I always tell them about the CARES Act, and there's another agency that's offering money as well.
Right.
And I'm sure there's churches, people all over the place.
Exactly, and at the end of the day, I mean, if I can't pay my bills, I'm gonna call my credit card company, I'm gonna call, and at least try to work something out.
Right.
It's better, as painful as it is, it's better to reach out than to ignore it, because,
Yeah,
so.
okay, anybody else in the public? Seeing none, I'll close public comment, bring it back up here. And I guess we need a motion to give staff direction.
I'll make a
Although I think
motion
we
that
kind of
we,
did, but, go ahead.
that we reinstate the fees and shut-offs after our next due date of October 21st. However, waive any late fees for those that sign up for a payment plan.
And interest.
What?
We'll waive all fees.
And interest, and I think really your
Well, it's a-
interest is the late fee, I think, the way you're set up, so it really covers both, but yes, late fees and interest.
Yeah, if you get on the payment plan, that is with zero interest, is my understanding, so. That's why I didn't.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, Kathleen, you want to talk about the audit selection? What happened?
Yeah. Okay, so after, I was contacting the three companies that presented, and in talking with them, I realized that we had erred when we opened up the bid package and did not include part of somebody's presentation. So with that, there were, and we also need, according to the ordinance, we need to actually create a tally sheet, a ranking sheet. We need to rank all three of them and come in, with our recommendation and tally sheets, so.
So is that tally sheet for each
I have actually
committee
been-
member, or as a committee
As a
committee as a
committee,
whole.
so what my plan was, I have worked up a better evaluation sheet than what we were working from. I was going to send that to y'all, and we would work on that and then have a meeting and just reevaluate our decision, your decision. Actually, I'm not a voting member, so it's your decision.
So this is going to go back to the Audit Selection Committee before a recommendation comes forward to the commission.
And then comes back to the commission, who may or may not accept their own recommendation.
So we need to set up a date to do this.
Okay, before our next commission meeting, and give Penny a couple days.
Well, the earliest you could have one would be the 29th of this month. So I just provided you the September and October. I think as long as Kathleen gets it done before our second meeting on the 22nd, even if it goes to the 22nd of October, she'll be okay with that.
So we can't do this as part of an existing meeting?
No.
The committee has to meet first.
All right.
And then we'll bring back the recommendation. That's what we were supposed to do tonight. However, we found that we didn't follow procedure 100%, so we have to have another committee meeting.
The 29th isn't any good because, sorry, Eric.
Hey, no complaints.
The 29th is the day we're meeting with Ken Parker, so that's
Yeah,
not
and
good.
I'm tied up all morning. Dentist at 3:00, so that ain't gonna work.
Okay, there's,
October 1st,
okay, October 1st is good for
I'm
me.
wide open.
Debbie is October 1st. It's a Thursday.
That's fine, just, pick time.
1 o'clock, I don't know.
I don't care.
1 o'clock, good.
1 o'clock it is. PM.
Well, I'm better in the morning. 1 o'clock. Okay.
Okay, and I'll provide you should have your copies from the presentations from the two that were printed out, and I'm going to print hard copies for your box of the one that was just PDF. Okay.
I'm glad I started throwing my paperwork into the trash can instead of putting it through the shredder. Because now I should be able to still find my old
Well, I have,
score sheet.
When did you, someone brought you, I have them still with you.
I wrote some notes, so you don't have to rescue all that paper. All right, number 12 was pulled, number 13, Resolution 2020-30.
Resolution 2020-30, a resolution by the City Commission of the City of Flagler Beach, Florida, amending Resolution 2015-13, which adopted the personnel policy to amend Section 111.3B related to advertisement for vacant new positions, providing for conflict and an effective date.
Okay,
And I told Liz I would do this so Liz was the News Journal and billing and for open vacant positions last year was a nightmare for Liz. And their prices are going up and up and up. And her average cost of an ad last year was sorry. I went and looked all this. Anyway, we were talking about, the cost of them and how much trouble she was having. They were putting my bills on hers. She could never get a credit for it. But she was averaging $290 per ad. She spent $2,400 for 10 ads. And that was with the News Journal. And she did a couple with the Penny Saver. And those ads were $97 and $84. She also has a survey question on her applications. Where did you hear about us? Only one of them said they heard from the News Journal. So she can do the Penny Saver, things like Indeed.com, which even they charge, but not as much as the News Journal, and gets more action and hits off of that. And unfortunately, until we amend this policy, we have to continue to advertise in the News Journal for open positions because it's our only newspaper of local circulation.
So legally, it's okay to take that
There's
out?
there's nothing statutory on how you advertise positions, so you can do whatever the commission decides the commission wants to
How
do.
wonderful.
And she may still, I mean, if she feels it's a vacancy that would get more tread or action from that type of ad, she may do that. But for a labor that's, paying $12 an hour,
Yeah.
no one's paying for a subscription to the News Journal who's getting paid $12 an hour.
We're paying $2 and something buy one at the
Exactly.
store.
They're picking up the penny saver out of their driveway.
So the only thing that has to be in a periodical of general circulation, changes to the code or land development code?
That's different, yeah, this is advertising, how we hire is completely up to us.
Okay,
How we conduct our legislative affairs, the state still tells us what to do.
okay.
Right. And honestly, the only reason I have to advertise in the Journal and not the Tribune for that is because we're in 2 counties. If we weren't, I could do the Tribune and save myself a lot of money as well.
Right. Okay, and you add it on the city's website. so. Okay, any questions, comments?
Nope.
Anybody in the public? Seeing none, close public comment and look for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve Resolution 2020-30.
Second.
30. Commissioner Bellhumeur,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooley,
Yes, the motion.
Commissioner Phillips, Commissioner Bryan,
Yes.
Chair Mealy.
Yes. Number 14, provide staff direction regarding the project agreement amendment between the city and the Florida Inland Navigational District.
So this one, here, basically, all I'm looking for you from this is, do you want to extend the fine grant for the 1 additional year? I know I gave you a lot of information, and I know the majority of you know it, but Ken and Debbie haven't been through all this, so I wanted to give them that backup information. And then when you hire a new manager, this is one of the things you can throw in. With Parker Park. I was poking around while out there. There is a FERDAP grant, which is a recreation grant from the state, and it's for $200,000, and there is not a match for it. And that grant opening period is the middle sometime of next month. I'm not a grant writer professionally. I probably could throw something together and send it in if you wanted me to for that, just to see if we could try to get some more money to develop down there, but you may or may not get approved on that. I mean, if you don't get it, you don't get it. If you do get it, there you have another obligation to develop that park down there from your handful of positions.
I got a little confused by this because it talks about how Larry wanted, because of the people down that area who didn't want to do that project.
So it's not that he didn't want to do it, he knew there was a deadline with the fine, whereas the state, we've already purchased the property, they'd have to go through the process of taking it back. It's not a priority on their list, so they're just going to, keep
it
saying, develop it, but fine is going to take that money where it's been earmarked from us and put it back in their budget to give it to some other city or group that can provide water access to the intercoastal for the public. So he was thinking that in the area where Commissioner Bellhumeur cleans out the bell pepper, the Brazilian peppers by the tennis courts, to maybe put a kayak paddleboard launch there. There's already an existing parking lot, it would have to be restriped, things like that, but it wouldn't be a huge expense for the parking. And I guess he believed that he could get some kind of kayak canoe launch put in there for less than $196,000. I'm not sure, it's up to 196,000, so you have to spend dollar for dollar what they'll,
Right.
it's dollar for dollar. Well, you could spend 100,000 and they'll only give you 100,000. I mean, it just. Right, but I don't even know if they'll amend the contract for that.
Yeah, that's what,
When Larry brought me in, he's like, you gotta extend the fine grant, so I'm, okay. So, I looked up, saw what I needed to do, sent them their letter. In their letter, they said they had two options for a 1 year and a 3 year. I asked for their 3 year, and we met the qualifications under that from what I read. But they didn't give it to us, they only gave us the
1
1
year.
year.
okay.
Did I send you that email yesterday from, is it DEP or somebody? Danielle Anderson had sent it to me. I thought I forwarded it to you.
I don't,
It's another grant, but it would be maybe something we could use.
yeah,
Um,
I'm not, like I said, I'm not a grant writer.
Right.
I can do the
I sent it
stewardship
to you and
reports
Fred.
because someone's already done all the research and the work, and I'm just saying, yes, we've completed this
Mm-hmm.
part, or no, we haven't done this, or we're working on this, but
It's from DEP, actually.
you might have, Linda.
What, you been busy?
No. Vilified all day, don't you know? But, yeah, so really tonight, it was just to give them information to get them up to date, and I'm asking if you want to do this 1 year extension on the fine grant. Gives us a little more time to figure out what we're gonna do. If Rick asks me, wants me to call fine to see what we can do with that, if they're open to that. And then maybe we can find out how much it would cost to do that there. Anything we do like that, we'd have to bring back before you. And I'm assuming any amendment they're gonna want approved, signed as well, so we would bring that before you as well.
Okay, Rick?
Does anybody remember if we had to, didn't we have to put up what we were going to do in a package in our application to find? I mean, we spent a lot of money down there on engineering and
Yes,
so
we
forth,
did.
and drawings, and having people come in and do, I don't know, the mud machine or whatever it was, doing the surveying. We got a lot of money into that, and to just take up and run from it, I think we ought to keep on trying to figure out what we can do down there.
I'm totally with you. Because we had some NIMBYism that kind of threw it all off.
Well, and two, I mean, Rick was asking me what was going on, and I told him, I said, I think the reason they've kind of appeased, it was a handful of people, it wasn't a large amount of people. I said, because they were pleasant about it, they were nice. So we tried to work with them, but what I was telling Rick is usually the type of people who use that type of thing, a paddleboard, a kayak launch, they're usually environmentally sensitive. They're gonna take garbage out with them, much less their own, I mean, they're gonna take their own and probably whatever other garbage they see. They're usually that type of person who does
Right.
those activities, they're not.
Well, I know one of the complaints was about parking, but I know we went through this with Silver Lake. You can drive up by Silver Lake, not even know there's a park there,
Yep.
because there's no cars. So I imagine it would be pretty much the same.
And if the state takes that property back,
Yeah,
they can
then-
do whatever they want.
Well,
And you're
they-
not going to have a say as a
Yeah,
neighbor.
they could sell it, and there is some buildable, I mean, we took it as a watershed to protect, because of the flooding issues. And the last survey, we have the wetland delineation line. There's, 2 to 3, maybe 4 buildable lots in there.
Yep. Yeah, plus, as Rick was saying, I mean, Libby put hours and years into this, and the city has spent some money
I'm definitely in favor of extending.
extending it for a year.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Perfect.
we're good? Okay, do you just need a consensus?
Open it to the public.
Yeah, I will, I just didn't know where we were going.
Probably since it's a grant, they might want some information back over at Find, if you could probably do a motion and authorize the mayor to sign.
Okay, all right. Anybody in the public wish to address this? No? Okay. Seeing none, I'll close public comment and look for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we request an extension.
Approve the extension. I think it's already been
Yeah, it's
offered.
already been requested. I've already requested it, they've approved it, I need you to agree to it.
Oh, okay. All right, then, motion to approve an extension, a one-year extension of the fine grant.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That was go a lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
I don't know how
so
Debbie and
much
Ken can get up to speed on what's really already gone by, because I don't suppose our interim city manager's real familiar with that, but,
I read a lot of
maybe-
the documents that were attached here, and I'm
okay.
kind of familiar with.
I'm
what-
sure Penny can help you guys out as far as
Yeah, I did
what
this-
we're saying about all the money that was
Right,
spent
yeah.
already in the engineering and re-engineering. We've already re-engineered it once as well, so there's a lot involved.
Anytime we can conserve some land for environmental purposes, especially for kayaking and paddleboarding, which is becoming even more popular even now. I mean, those are some pretty cool areas back in there.
Oh, it's beautiful.
There are some gators back there too, by the way. But
That's why you stay in the kayak.
All right, we move on to commission comments. Mayor?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody that came out for the International Beach cleanup. Rick was there to clean up. Eric was there to organize, thank goodness, because I'm not much of a morning person. So got everyone to sign in, and we had a great turnout, about 200 people.
Wow.
Unfortunately, we had that storm afterwards, so at least we cleaned up the beach before the storm. And we'll have our regular beach cleanup, I believe it's the first Saturday of October, so, yes. We'll
How
get
many
what's
drinks
left.
you give out?
I'm sorry?
Oh, we probably had, I'd say half the folks, we probably had about 100 folks through for drinks afterwards.
We had
There's a lot.
close to 200 that signed in,
Okay.
showed up. And, 10-pound garbage bags, so, 100 bags at least that we handed out.
There was, I think in total, they did a pickup, so there was probably about 12, I think, tippy carts filled. So that's pretty much a dumpster load.
And that was the stuff that they brought back. A lot of people just
Right.
leave it, on the walkover or whatever.
Right.
So it was a good turnout. Congressman Waltz was there, and it's good. Now that the kids are back in school, we should start having ROTC and some of those other groups come to the cleanups again. Real quick, hopefully, Veterans Day, we don't see anything happening in the park, do we? I know for Memorial Day, we had Vern do it at
Yeah,
the station.
I don't know. I'd like to do something. If we could have the room like this. No?
I don't know how you could fit that many.
Well, we don't usually get hundreds.
Well, depends. That one that it rained, we were packed in here like sardines.
Packed, if
Yeah.
I remember right, it was jammed in here.
I was speaking with the mayor from Palm Coast, and they're probably going to do a picnic again, or something like that, and she wanted to know if we wanted to, if we were going to do something, if we wanted to join in. I said, I'm not sure if we would be doing anything in the park or not, because I don't see us having any special events till January, so I wasn't sure if we were, you don't have to decide tonight, but just something to think about, because that'll be here
Yeah, I
before we
had it
know it.
on my list also.
But yeah, obviously in Veterans Park, we could social distance, but if it rains and everybody has to come in here, then you don't have that opportunity. And especially since a lot of people that show up to that are older, high-risk group, just a thought.
What, just a random suggestion, what about rain or shine?
Yeah, weather
Just-
permitting.
They can, get umbrellas if need be. I remember a year we did it in here, and it was absolutely mobbed. I mean, I was in that food room over there, it was so crowded.
Yeah.
That's true. I know normally not that many people show up, but that year they did.
So, anyway, just something to think about.
Yeah, I had it on my list.
'Cause it'll be here
to talk
before we
about,
know it.
too. That's all I have. Ken?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I attended the 9/11 Remembrance Ceremony here at the pier. A lot of folks there, and also kind of reminded me of where I was, which was in Washington DC when the Pentagon got hit. But it was a large turnout, and it was a very good event as far as remembering anyway. Not the event itself, but the celebration itself was good. Also attended the ribbon cutting of the radio tower and the new radio system that the county has implemented. And today I drove down on Lambert to look at the swales to see how progress was. And they're doing a very good job. They're actually using instruments to determine the flow of water and this kind of thing here.
You see my pretty new pipe?
I saw the pretty new pipe. Also saw one gentleman is up to his knees literally in mud. So those guys are working really hard, so.
There's one guy, I don't
Okay.
think he's 5'6", and he's like this. And he's the one who drags everything out
Yeah.
and does all the sawing of this and that, and
They're doing a heck of a
he's
job. out there.
unbelievable.
The other thing was, I met with some of our staff today. I met with Rick earlier and then with Fred and some of the other staff out on Palm Drive to look at some of the water that has been, everyone's been getting water. But I had some tremendous concern about this is because the gardens, which is eventually going to come, could have some impact on the property that the city owns on the pond area out there. So we're getting a firsthand look at the impact or potential impact that it could have on Flagler Beach itself. So I'll continue working with Rick and staff to make sure that the city's interest is first and we don't end up with a problem on our hands. So that's ongoing, and Rick and myself and Fred will be meeting with Mr. Parker from Parker and Mitchenberg on the 29th to go over some of the things that we need to address. That's about it.
Rick?
They put all these LED streetlights up, and it took quite a while to get them to turn them back off to not bother with the little turtles like we saw here earlier.
That turtle turn around.
It's a good chance. So as far, it's my understanding, Chief, he was the one trying to touch base with FDOT, and FP&L is the one that actually initiated the project. But they need to create new shields. The ones that they had were totally inadequate. So until they get those new shields changed, most of the street lighting on A1A will not be, well, all the LEDs won't be turned on anyway until they get those redesigned shields for them. I was talking to Rick earlier. I understand that our pier hours are going to be extended as of Monday, Rick? You said this coming Monday?
Yes, we'll be going from 6 to 9.
6 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Yes.
I also went to the ribbon cutting for the new radio system countywide and beyond. I understand it's the same system that Volusia uses and others.
I believe St. John's.
Yeah.
Button.
I know a lot of people have been frustrated with the flooding over the last few days, and some people still seem to think that if we dig ditches, that the water will go away. I just wish I could explain it in a way that they would understand that even if you build a dike all the way around this island, the water's going to come up through the ground. So it's unfortunate that we have to deal with that. I have to deal with it directly. I mean, I drive through the puddle to get to my house, and not more than a puddle, I guess the highest tide in the mayor it was probably 6 to 8 inches, I guess, on the roadway. And so hopefully we won't have too many more. prolonged windstorms like we had recently, and that was the main cause from the winds pushing all the water into the intracoastal at the inlets, and it not backing off and letting the water back out when low tide hit. So it just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. So hopefully we're over that hurdle, and things will start receding. There are still some streets down by Pal Parker, they're still underwater. I don't know if your loop is or
Drove down
not.
yesterday.
But the 2400 block of Daytona is still underwater.
Yeah, I drove down yesterday.
Even at low tide today.
Yeah. And Rick, what's interesting, people go, oh, you bought in a flood zone. When I purchased my house, I didn't even have to have flood insurance. So, yes, I flooded during Irma, and every time we get something like this, but for those of people that think that, oh, well, you bought where you bought, well, now I have to pay flood insurance, a lot of it, but.
It's, turned out to be worth it for me when my house went under.
It's getting worse.
Yeah, that's pretty
People can
obvious.
attribute it to whatever they want, but it's definitely getting worse. I've lived in this town over 30 years and never seen it like it's been lately.
Just a question, I know they had to tribute to Larry Newsom at Tortugas. Are we as a city or as a commission,
Yeah, Linda and I
or
spoke.
somebody going to do something?
Yeah, I was waiting to talk to
yesterday, and
Lisa.
I'm sorry?
I was waiting to talk to Lisa about it. She had been back and forth.
Okay.
I think she's back in
So
town now.
something's in the works, okay.
I just want to check with her and see if but I feel like we definitely need to do
Yes,
something, and I
okay.
want to do something. I was just kind of waiting on her to get back from
Okay,
back and forth.
all right.
That's it?
There.
All right. Y'all know that most of the time I don't have anything. Well, I'm saving it for this.
Uh-oh. Get comfy.
Don't worry, we'll get you your football game. I want to bounce something off you, and if y'all can bear with me so I can get it out and then you can make a decision on it. Attended the Gardens meeting at county, as many of you have, and there was a couple of things that came up that concerned me as far as impact to this town. And these are items that were part of the original PUD that have been since taken out as part of this new modification that has been presented to county. What I would like to propose is we as a city take a formal stance on this and present it to county via Drew or, whatever the process is. And I want to tell you what they were, because I took a lot of notes. And first thing would be is the original road construction design has been removed. They want to keep John Anderson the way it was. That has a direct impact on our current residents as far as egress goes. So the one thing that I would propose is we say that the county has options. They can approve it fully, they can deny it, or they can approve it with conditions. And since we are not talking about just approving a PUD, this is a PUD modification, that's where you have approving with conditions. So we as a city, number one, asked for the original road design to be retained. Now, keep in mind that we're not asking for anything above and beyond. We're asking for what was originally there to stay there. Second thing, when in the 2005 design of the gardens, there was a finite number of dwellings. There was no land bookmarked for future development. If you look at the original PUD, all the phases of construction were outlined. They were all there. And I don't have handy the exact number of houses. I believe it to be 453, but we can verify it.
That's true.
But this particular new modification, they have all kinds of for future development area that is not designed, unlike the 2005. 2005, when you look at that PUD, it was fully designed. Now, they did have it in phases, but it was all there on paper. This one is not. This one has huge blank spaces that you and I both know what it's for. So we say you will stick with the original PUD number of dwellings, which is 453, not buildings, because one building could hold 500 people. It will be dwellings or residences or, whatever legal term we would need. But we request that the number of dwellings that was previously approved in 2005 stay that's the cap. They can future develop anything they want, but as far as people that live there, is going to be what was originally approved. That's my next suggestion. Third suggestion, another carryover from the original agreement is they will either do it themselves or they will pay for a water reuse setup. They are going to cover that. Whether they pay the city for it or whether they design their own that syncs up with our water treatment plant, they will cover the cost of the water reuse, and they will use it on their golf course at a date certain. And the county would obviously have to agree on that. Now, keep in mind, we're not adding anything. Every single thing that's here was part of the original agreement that they've since removed as part of this modification. The only one thing that, as the suggestion forward, that I think we need to do to protect our citizens, now this would be an addition, is there would need to be an independent engineering study done of the immediate area with flood mitigation. And when I say immediate area, that includes Flagler Beach. They did their own study on flood mitigation for themselves. They did not do a study on how it impacts us. And what they're doing when they build this, they're raising the elevations, they're bringing in fill. Well, if you raise the elevation of the ground level in an area that is designed to take on water when there's a flood, the water can no longer go there, it has to go somewhere. And what we need to do is have an independent engineering study that if there is any engineering that needs done, they're going to have to mitigate it. Whether it be expand that, Ken, there's a couple of those, like the retention ponds over there, whether they have to, be dredged, expanded, whatever the case is.
That's correct.
Yeah, but they have, since this is a modification of a PUD, the burden is on them to protect the existing folks that are there. This isn't just Al kind of framed it, in his own way, but the thing is this is not just a PUD approval, this is a PUD modification, so it's not just, only including competent substantial evidence, it's not doing just that in a tiny little box, like kind of how they phrased it at the meeting. This is the same thing when you want to change zoning and stuff like that. You have to make sure you're not going to have a negative impact to the area around you. And this modification in those cases does. So the things they're modifying have a direct negative impact on our city that I would like to get y'all's blessing, and see what you think about it. But to leave those three existing things that were in the approved 2005 there, and the only thing to add would be the engineering to protect us. Is all that legal okay?
I have some suggestions. I'll wait for I think I have a way of doing what you're asking. I'll talk about that, but I want to hear from the rest of the commission before I open my big mouth.
Well, several of us were there. I agree wholeheartedly. I told Ken Belchie in one of my earliest meetings with him that do yourself a favor, build the bridge. I told him that way back in January when they met out at the Garden Inn. I said that you want to try and make this work out, bring down your number to what Ginn had and build the bridge. So I definitely agree with you. And as you well know, I got up and spoke about the future development areas and make sure that they, because the county did create their own list of things that they wanted to discuss and dig into deeper. But reuse, Jane made an excellent point. We shouldn't be having to build a reuse facility for water that we as a city can't use. I mean, some people on the west side of the Intracoastal can use it, but it's the amount of money to bring it over here and then it's just not feasible at this point, at this juncture. So, yes, I mean, 453 dwellings, multiplies what we're producing by an additional 10%. And I think that we should make them mitigate that somehow, and by using creating a reuse facility or, at least paying the majority of the cost for doing that, as was in the GIN proposal, it's my understanding as well. I don't, looking down the road, depending on whether we can get annexation with them, I think a fire department building or fire station should be possibly added to that list, because we're the ones going to be going over there.
I think there is
There's
talks
a,
with the county.
there's a piece of land.
They're giving,
But they're not talking about
they're
building.
going to allow they're going to give the county, I don't know if they're giving it to them or just letting them use it or what the deal is, but they're proposing to give them property so that the county can build a fire station there. But should we wish to annex them, or they would allow us to annex them, or however that procedure works, then we would be liable for fire service there. 100% liable, so, in that case, I think that, they should keep that on the burner as well. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's okay, I'm fine. I commend you for bringing that up, because, there are some issues that we certainly do have to look at, and then, as we've all been talking about for months now, there's going to be some impact. And I've had at least a meeting with one county commissioner already out on Palm Drive, and we looked at the area back that would actually be the retention area coming from the gardens running down through Palm Drive and probably into Lambert as well. The one commissioner said that it really opened his eyes. He had no idea of what the area looked like, and a potential impact, because you're correct. If you start building up over there, and they're gonna have to fill in, and it's actually just gonna run down. But here again, that's why I've been talking to Rick as well, so that we can get out there and look at it. And I think, and Rick certainly will be able to look at this, as well as Fred and some others, but we do need to look at some engineering studies to determine the possible impact it's going to have on Flagler Beach, because whether it's on this commission or another commission 10 years from now, they're going to say, why in the heck did these guys let this thing go through, or didn't do something to try to protect us? Because now the tides are rising, the water's rising. And all due respect to Mr. Parker the other night when he said, I don't design areas that flood. And my comment was, it may not have flooded 25 years ago, and it probably worked well 25 or 30 years ago, but here we are now, and some of those areas back there have been breached, and it needs to be addressed. The annexation part of it, one good thing about the annexation is once it's in the city, we have control with a lot of things, plus there's a lot of revenue that could be, that we could actually see from that as well, which actually, and some people's going to be against this, but it helps to bring down the property taxes as well, because you're talking about rollback, you could see a significant, to some degree anyway, down the road. I think that's the only thing I had there. Oh, the other thing was, what they're alleging is that they're working off of a sketch plan, and they're saying that they have the right to modify and change it and move things around as much as they want, based on interpretation of the way that the PUD was written. And that's where, and all due respect to Drew, and that's where attorneys can get you, because may implies that they can do whatever they want. And if they don't have shall in there or will, then that gives them a lot of latitude. And that's what they're depending on right there, is the fact that the language was written to indicate may, and they don't have to do it. They could just do whatever they want. But I think it's a great idea that we at least, we're at the table. We need to let them know that, man, because we do have some control, we have to provide the utilities. And again, the maximum amount of utilities that we agreed to years ago was 453 or whatever it is. That's the cap. So, that's all we can do. So I think that we have the leverage there, but I welcome engagement and working with the county in order to get through this.
Just to,
But Linda?
No, I was just going to say, I watched the meeting, fascinating. It's much more comfortable watching it from home, oh, yeah. Eating popcorn and, anyway. But we had also received, all of us, an email from one of our residents with some very good questions too about the, just the wastewater treatment plant and the questions that I would like to have answered, and I don't know if Fred or who could answer those. I will forward them on. I think it was sent to Drew, Fred, but anyway, and all of you. But there are some questions here that need to be answered, because, we've heard free water, reuse water,
Nothing's free.
and I think some of that really needs to be clarified, and especially how much can they actually take of it? Because if they don't do a golf course, how many, even at 453 homes, how much reuse can you use? So, now that was tabled till October, the
Yeah,
second
we
meeting?
got a
second
month,
meeting.
time's of the essence.
The second meeting in October.
Okay.
So I have a couple of comments as well. You done, Linda?
Yep.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. I also watched it from the luxury of my home. I want to commend you for bringing this to our attention, Eric, and I love the idea of doing a flood study. I live in Cedar Island. We only have 32 homes. We just hired Stevenson Wilcox to do a flood engineering study. First of all, it was very expensive, so I would like to push that cost, obviously, on the developer. It was $4,000, and we only have 32 homes. But it was amazing, the information that we got back from Stevenson Wilcox. Second comment is, I'm very concerned about the impact on our schools. I know we don't have schools here in Flagler Beach, but we have children that go to the schools in Flagler County. I don't remember them bringing anything up during the meeting. I might have missed it on schools.
Yeah,
I brought
it
up.
was brought up.
They did, okay. Okay.
Colleen Conklin got up.
You did, okay, I missed that, so thank you. So as long as that's being addressed. I also remembered a prior meeting that they did do a traffic study, and it came back fine.
course.
That John Anderson
They used
was
their
going to.
own.
They used their own, exactly. So that's a great point as well.
Sands Lassiter is a great traffic person,
Right,
but he works for developers.
right, exactly. So that's really something very
And
important to
what
watch.
somebody brought up was, that was the minimum, that traffic study. So, I mean, we all know, I'm not a traffic engineer, but common
No,
sense, you
you
put that
know.
many homes there, come on, we know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
So I think, the county should have an independent traffic study
Yeah.
done from
Yes.
the
yes,
developers.
Yes.
And that got brought up, and, obviously the traffic engineer guy was there, he got all offended and everything. The reason why I chose those 4 bullets is you have 3 bullets, it eliminates all legal wrangling. You're saying we have 3 things that were originally in there we want put back. And then we have 1 study that we want done and ensure we're protected. And so by keeping it just like that, it eliminates all the lawyers sitting there, this and that, and you're keeping it very clean. You're going, this was approved in 2005, and we want these things left. And Drew, I believe even in this case, we have standing too, do we not?
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean,
So we have
we
standing.
definitely have the
for
ability to
preserved
come in
ed-
and comment. We're an adjacent jurisdiction. We're impacted by the project. And so now that everybody's had their opportunity to give where they stand on it, my thoughts and I can get this done by the next meeting if I can get a little bit of cooperation from staff, because I may need to lean on you guys a little bit, is take those bullet points, put it into a friendly but firm letter, and say, these are the things we would like, and where I'll need to lean on staff a little bit, and this is the why, and kind of laying some of that evidentiary background, particularly on the flood issue, and where that water's
And the
going,
reuse.
anything we can, and the reuse, I mean, that's a bit of a larger thing. The flooding is a direct impact, the reuse, it's a longer-term impact, but it is an impact too.
The state is changing
I know,
rules.
but make those arguments and points, at least so they make the record, so they have them before them, they have to see them, again, in a friendly way, but being direct with them and putting as much evidence as we can to encourage them to get more evidence. Because as I know all of you are, it's an interesting situation whenever we're talking to another jurisdiction about their development, because we all know the challenges of it. We know that we have that high bar when we're looking at a developer who has property rights. So it's kind of encouraging them to dig deeper, I think is what you're really asking them to do. So that would be my proposal, is let me draft that letter, get it in front of you at your next meeting, and that way we can get it over to them before they have their next meeting on the project.
Well, Drew, that's exactly what the commission, the board, I'm sorry,
Yes.
Chairman, the Board of County Commissioners actually told them something very similar to that, is that they needed to dig deeper and
Right.
cooperate with the individuals of concern, those that, they tried to say we didn't have standing in that, I have individuals that live within 30 feet of that property, so they definitely have standing, but as a
That is-
municipality that's directly connected, we certainly have standing.
I think with the water issue, not our providing water, the runoff water, the
Right.
stormwater issue alone, if we're impacted by it, it doesn't matter if we're 30 feet away or 300 feet away, if we're impacted by that, we can claim to be an adversely impacted party. Now, whether or not they recognize that and want to give us standing to appear as a party as opposed to an interested public, that's their call. But I think there's a fair argument to be made that if we're suffering an impact, we have standing.
Well, and they purposely argued out the preserve group to avoid the pushback as standing, but as far as these three topics go, we easily have standing, and I do not see them trying to argue us out of that. That would be just a bad faith move in the public eye, and that would not be wise on their part. So that gives us standing versus just one person at the county staff trying to argue things, that this changes things.
So Eric, just to clarify, you're talking about the original road design for the traffic?
Correct, the either over or underpass.
Okay.
That was one of the main reasons why that got approved was because of that. And you cannot widen John Anderson. And because
Right.
you cannot widen John Anderson, it has to be done. Or our citizens that are on that side of, the intercoastal are going to be adversely impacted,
Right.
and they're going to have terrible egress.
Right.
And then the
ones that
second
live
thing was going back to the
north of-
original PUD, the 453 homes. And then what was your third thing? Because I wrote down a bunch
The
of stuff.
third thing was they will either.
Reuse.
They will pay for, or they will build the water reuse, and they
Okay.
will take it from us, and then we can get out of the intercoastal. Now,
Okay,
our DEP license to be in the intercoastal ends at 2024, so that's why I would like to see a date certain at 2024.
gotcha.
And that gives them time to build their stuff.
And the state is changing the rules as we speak. We may not even go to 2024.
Right.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
The county could possibly check off on this thing at their next two meetings, the second meeting in October. So Drew's talking about bringing something back, 2 weeks from now. That doesn't give us a whole lot of, if we have standing and we want to go over there and make our points, I think we need to gear up and maybe we should workshop this and have something. So, and go over there and represent ourselves.
Right. This
at
is
the
highest
meeting.
priority.
So, we don't have, time's of the essence, we got it. And yeah, thank you for not letting this go by.
When is the county meeting? Is it
The
The
20,
second, the third Monday in October. And it's a late meeting, so it'll be a 5 o'clock meeting.
Okay, so that'll be the 19th. Our meeting is the 8th. Yeah, that's not much time. but-
Right, so I would suggest that maybe we get together on this specific topic and
well, if we do a workshop, could we then say with a special meeting afterwards if necessary?
Very good
Because we
idea.
can't vote.
Yeah,
at
I
that.
agree.
Good idea.
Absolutely.
Can't vote at
Yep.
the workshop.
Are you wanting to do it before the 8th?
I'm sorry.
Workshop with a special meeting after.
Well, I don't know. I think maybe we might want to have Drew here with us.
Oh,
for
yeah.
that,
Right.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah, he's got to work it.
So, and then we got to figure out how we're going to go over there and represent ourselves. If we have standing and we get that argument, do we take Drew with us over there? It's
Absolutely.
all things we have to talk through. So I think the sooner the better, and gives Drew more time to help us out.
Drew, how long do you think you would need to put together what you said? I know it depends on
Set a
staff.
workshop date, I'll make it work.
ASAP.
to do the workshop before the 8th, which is our meeting, or after the 8th?
I would think before,
Before.
that time is definitely of the essence. We have less than a month.
If you want to do a daytime, Drew will already, well, never mind, we're going to do a Zoom meeting. We're going to do a Zoom meeting for the park board on the 6th, never mind.
I can be here and do Zoom from here.
Drew, so Drew will, there's the 6th, there's a park board meeting at 5:30, but you can have it before that. Monday the 5th is open, the 7th is open. I have election equipment testing in here. It doesn't take long, but they say 11 a.m., but, so I would say afternoon. I'm available on the 1st. You have your budget hearing at 5:01 on the 30th, and a special magistrate possibly at 3 that same day. 2.
How about Monday the 5th?
The 5th
Does that
is
work for you?
open, The 7th is open, the 9th is open.
All right, how about Monday?
The 5th?
Is that good?
What time?
Is it possible to do anything afternoon, evening?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Eric, I forgot all about that. Is Friday bad for you, Drew?
I can make whatever, just, I'll make
How
it
about
work.
the 2nd? Friday the 2nd? That work for anybody else?
If it's,
But it's better in the evening for Eric.
Right.
We really want to, Friday night.
anytime after 3 or 4, if
Something
it's
like that,
possible.
Four?
Yeah, 2nd or 5th. Anything evening is okay with me.
I'm fine.
I would opt for whatever the earliest date is we can get away
We
with.
definitely want to give county as much of a heads up
Right.
as possible. The beauty of this is very easy. This is things that were already in there. So the only additional thing that we're asking for is an independent study to protect us. That's it. Other than that, we're just saying, you're going to leave these 3 things in that we're already in.
So that's less than a week for Drew,
Yeah,
if you did it on the 2nd.
He said give him a date, he'd make it work.
Yep.
all right. So Friday the 2nd?
What time?
Eric, what works?
Is 4 too late? Can you all do 4?
Yeah.
Done.
Have Aaron. Gotta have it here.
Okay. It's in my calendar.
Workshop
Iced
followed by
tea.
special.
Yeah, because we can't vote at a workshop. Okay, you shortened my list.
Well, and if we're good with that, I had just a couple other small things. Are you all okay with?
Yeah.
moving on? Okay. Linda, it has to get said again, thank you for all the work you put into the beach cleanup. This was a massive turnout, and it was just highly successful. And what's neat is when you have that many people and that much press, it's kind of like a recharge to the awareness. And, hopefully we can get some more of our locals engaged with that too. Hopefully we can get some preserve folks out there helping preserve. If we can do that. Since some of the gardens stuff is starting to pass, we can keep that energy going and try to stick together on that. I wanted to table this since we have our city manager here and we have everybody else here. Previous years, there's been a lot of pushback about the Veterans Flag Christmas tree. I wanted to talk about this early so we could put our heads together. I for one, just would love to come up with another option other than taking down our flag in Veterans Park and coming up with something else, other than using the flagpole as a Christmas tree, because I'll be honest, I'm just tired of hearing about it. Is that something that you're okay with working on, different things? I know, Rick, you had ideas in previous years on that, and Linda, you've had ideas, and
Well, we're not doing a First Friday Christmas holiday at the park, parade, whatever you want to call it. So I'm sure they'll still put up lights on the trees and such, light up the Veterans Park, but yeah, we'll have to figure out something
or
else.
even adding one of those extendable poles, or,
Yeah.
just anything that doesn't involve taking that flag down.
Right.
Howard just recovered an old sailboat of his that's been missing for like a decade. and has a mast.
Just drop the bell right there.
Put a concrete plug in the ground and drop it in.
Just sink it right in, yeah.
Take it out when you're done.
They could possibly move that tree over to the flagpoles here in front of City Hall versus out there.
Just anything other than that. It's been listening to that for, I think, 3 years now or something, and I wanted to get ahead of that one, so we didn't
Thank you, I
face that.
just, like, forgotten that memory.
Did you go in Home Depot and see all the Christmas decorations? Is that what made you think of that?
You know, it was actually.
Seriously, already?
Christmas
Oh,
already.
yeah, everybody's full tell with Christmas already. It was just kind of random, and I had to scribble it down while I was remembering, because I know that we've thought about it after the fact and after the complaints come in before, and I don't want to go through that again, and got trauma around that. The last thing I got is, this goes back a number of meetings. This goes back to the big giant meeting that we had where engineering did a whole lot of stuff, and then we had that big presentation. We had to put out those fires where we were billing stuff and holding permits, and so, and then immediately after that, then we didn't have a city manager, and then we've been waiting. So I wanted to table this now. I have concerns, and this is mostly for the sitting city manager, but I have a lot of concerns about our engineering department doing things that aren't quite right by our citizens. Taking it upon themselves to bill citizens, hold permits, which you're not even allowed to do in that scenario, and do things that aren't quite, I don't want to say unethical, I don't think that's the right word, but I'm going to say not in good faith. And I wanted to table it. I know we don't give direction on what to do with staff and everything, but I wanted to put it on the table that I'm highly bothered by it. I'm highly bothered that commission is having to get city staff to do the right things. And it needed to be said publicly, and it needed to be said when we had a city manager. And so it's just been that long. I don't think that there is any tangible item and action item that he's done, but unless, I wanted to table it with y'all to see if you guys had any thoughts. Because that stuff shouldn't be happening. We shouldn't have to pull our own city staff back and say, don't charge our citizens arbitrary numbers that are made up when you don't even have permission. So that, I just kind of wanted to put it on the table. I don't think it's an action item, but it is an item that we need to talk about for the sake of our citizens and our own integrity.
I think we're kind of on a slightly slippery slope here. I've had some discussions with Rick. I think some of the rest of you have similar type discussions. He's aware of problems, and can we just leave it at that?
I'm okay with that.
Okay?
Yeah, I just wanted.
Yeah, because,
Okay.
yeah.
I had my one-on-one with him, and that was one of my subjects, so.
Yeah.
I talked to him as well.
Okay. Phew! Okay, Debbie?
We're off that slope. Okay.
I have a bunch of just really quick things. Chief, were you able to talk to Ron about the bumps on the road on A1A, whether those can be leveled off?
The one thing I did not, he's on vacation in North
Chief, you know better.
Commissioner, that's the one thing I did not get a chance to talk to Ron. He's actually on vacation in North
No.
Carolina.
Okay. As long
But
as
I
I know
will
you're
when he
working
gets
on it.
back.
Okay.
And I did send everybody an email
Okay,
about the painting of the 25 mile
Yes.
an hour speed limit on A1A.
which is terrific.
That's been approved, and when Ron gets back, I'll ask him about that.
Okay, great, thank you. My next item is something for us to consider. I don't even know how it works. I don't know if it's something we can do, but I would really like to see 2 stop signs on the corner of Daytona and Second going north and south. So right in front of the Pink Turtle and right in front of the Flagler Beach. On a weekly basis, I'm hearing swearing, screeching of of tires. Today, somebody came in my store, they were almost sideswiped by somebody that just went right through. Had there been a stop sign, they would, they were not hit, thankfully, but it's that 4-way cross there. And I think it would be nice to have a stop sign going north and south.
It's,
Two-way go?
just as bad at the corner where the post office is, if not worse.
Yeah, I think Linda got hit
That's
by
that's
the post
really a
office.
bad
Okay.
intersection. And then you get people that are from out of town and they stop at the brick crosswalk.
Well, I think
looking at
that's
the
where,
stop sign.
the brick crosswalks, I think it would be really nice to have stop signs there. I know we're talking about a lot more stop signs, but I'm not kidding. I'm waiting for a really bad accident to happen in front of my shop.
Right, so Commissioner Belhumeur brings up a great point. That brick that's laid out there reminds people of a stop bar, and they stop when they don't need to stop. It happens at both, in front of all of them. It happens at all of them. The other one is the sight distance. If you're pulling out from where Vessel is and you look left,
You can't
if
see.
cars are parked on the east side of the road, you cannot see.
No, that's what I'm talking about,
So,
right in that intersection.
If we're going to put stop signs up, I would recommend not putting the stop signs up. I would recommend maybe doing something with parking on the west or the east side of the roadway to increase the vision.
Okay.
There's where your accidents are
Okay.
happening, is because they're pulling out
Okay,
and getting hit. And it's not a lot, but like DOT says, they don't count near misses.
okay,
If you put stop signs in where a majority of folks aren't used to,
right.
I can tell you what's going to happen. You're going to get rear-end collisions.
So are you talking about trimming the bushes that are on the?
I'm talking about restricting some of the parking on the east side
Oh, okay,
of Central,
okay,
like across from your business.
Right.
Maybe 1 or 2 parking spaces,
okay,
so that the sight distance when you pull up to the stop bar heading west, it's easier to look right because you can see where Baines is.
correct.
If you remove those 2 parking spots, you could at least see further
Okay.
down the road.
Yeah, I'm
It's a
halfway out
sight
in the road
distance.
before.
Right, you're halfway
Okay.
out into the road. If you put up stop signs in places like Second and Fourth,
Right,
people that travel that road every day aren't used to the stop signs.
they're just gonna,
When someone stops, now you're going to have more accidents, rear-end collisions,
okay,
where
okay.
you didn't have them
Would you
before.
put there to eliminate those 2 spots? It's several spots.
I don't know,
Or maybe just even one spot you could
Yeah.
see.
at least one. I'd go back maybe 25, 30 feet, at least.
That's pretty much all the parking there. And we've got that.
No, there's a
parking
couple
pool, too.
spots there, because that goes all the way down.
Yeah.
I'll take a look at it tomorrow, and,
Okay,
we can come up with something.
yeah, that'd be great,
I think if
because,
we restrict some of that parking, that'll increase the sight distance
Okay.
for folks that are pulling out,
okay.
okay?
Yeah, that'd be great, thank you. Also, too, I'm a member of Flagler Beach Business Bureau, and we are meeting next month, and we are going to be talking about beautifying our businesses with Christmas lights. So when you're driving down A1A, the business will have Christmas lights. In town center here, you'll have Christmas lights, just to make it a little bit more vibrant for the holiday season. So we're going to be talking about that, and I think most businesses will probably sign on for that.
We do that every year, the annual Light Up Flagler, Carla and I, and the
Okay.
businesses have a category. So hopefully this year, more
More
businesses.
people will.
Yeah, will do it.
That'd be great, thank you. 2 more quick things. I attended the Zoom meeting for Intergovernmental and Transportation Committee. It's one of 3 meetings, so I'll give more of a general update after the 3rd meeting about what we discussed, what our future vision is for this committee. And then just last, really quick, I met with Rick this week, and we talked about people that put out refrigerators and hot water heaters, maybe putting a blurb on our website saying, call the city, we'll pick it up, because we do get money for that scrap, as opposed to calling on somebody else in town who does the same thing, or just trying to dump it somewhere. So I'm gonna
Or
have.
the guy who rides around and picks it
Yes.
up in the middle of the night.
Yeah, exactly. So, if it's okay, I'm just gonna have Janelle, I'll write something up and we'll put it on our website. And that's all I had.
Okay, I went to the 9/11 event, it was really lovely, except for the little rainstorm we had for a few minutes, and the ribbon cutting for the radios. I had the League of Cities Committee meeting about the environment and utilities, and there's some things we're going to have to look at. There's a Clean Waterways Act that sounds really pretty, but it's going to have some negative effects, and I'm going to have to talk to staff about some things about that. And, about reuse and septics and stormwater and all the things that we always have problems with. And there's a bill that did not pass last year, but will be back about reuse. and prohibiting surface water discharge from the wastewater plant into the intercoastal. And, sorry. A tree ordinance, a tree law was passed last year that kind of negates our tree ordinance. Drew, if you would like to look into it, it's Florida Statute 163-045.
If you have a residential lot and you have an arborist that says a tree is a threat, you can take it down. It doesn't matter what the code says.
Right. And then a big thing about recycling, so I plan on meeting with Rob. There was a recycling group. There are groups for everything. And she was saying pretty much the same thing Rob said to us when he presented here at the budget meeting. So I want to talk to him about, we may have to re-educate people about what actually should be recycled because it sells, as opposed to schlepping everything over there and then they just put it all in the landfill. It was an interesting meeting. Let's see what else. I found it interesting that the county says they're not raising taxes. But when you look at the numbers they put out, they're 3.46 above rollback. So don't expect your county taxes to not go up. And Drew, I have a question for you, a procedural question. At that county commission meeting, they got to an issue that was very uncomfortable for everybody. And the board started to take action, and they did not open it to the public. And the chairman said there was somebody waiting for quite a while to talk. And the chairman said, it's a legislative issue, we don't have to open it to the public. And I was like, I never heard that one before.
Ministerial or legislative? Ministerial is exempt from the public participation statute.
It was to
He didn't say
censure,
legislative, I believe he said commission.
well, whatever.
Okay,
There
just-
are things that you don't have to open.
For instance, we always open our minutes. Minutes do not have to, they're ministerial.
This was to censure one of the other commissioners.
And that's probably the argument that was being raised, probably that concept of being ministerial, because it was something that only affects them as a body, doesn't affect the public.
It doesn't?
That would have been their argument. I'm not saying I agree with it, and I'm not saying I'd give you the same advice. I would tell you to open that kind of matter up to the public, but that's one where I would say definitely falls into that area where good lawyers can argue about it. But as you know, well know with me, I err on the side of caution, especially when it comes to public being able to participate. I believe that's, one of the most fundamental parts of our process. So I understand your position, and I agree with your position. But legally, is there a fair argument that it did not have to be open to the public? I could make that argument
Oh,
if I
yeah,
had to.
okay. It was more of, I wasn't being critical, well, I guess I was, but it was more of a question, like, can that happen?
That's a good question.
Sure.
Is there case law on that? Is there a
As to-
precedent?
No.
No?
I don't think so, not on that one. And actually, that public participation statute that passed, it's still relatively recent, and that would be a fairly obscure question with an internal censure. Not something that happens very often, and probably not one that anybody is going to spend money fighting up to an appellate level or to create precedent. So that's why I say there's lots of room for good lawyers to argue about it, because I highly doubt that the court has weighed in on that specific topic.
And Drew, was it okay that this individual who was potentially going to be censored had to vote?
Okay.
I don't know enough about the facts, so I'll tell you a story afterwards, because that's another area where good lawyers can argue, and I've had that argument recently.
We all received an email from Ken Parker today of things he wants us to, are we to give those things to Liz?
You turn them into Liz and I'll reproduce
Okay, because that part wasn't clear as to what we do with it.
Well, that meeting's Tuesday.
Tuesday,
Oh,
doesn't give you, it's the 29th.
yeah.
29th. And I think that's all I had. Okay, move on to staff reports.
Two things. One, back to the gardens, or really John Anderson corridor. I just wanted to clear up something at the last meeting when Patrick was here for me. There was the conversation, I think, about resale versus wholesale. I wanted to point out that the city and the county amended that interlocal as to resale wholesale. So we actually would be, or retailing the water to that project, not wholesaling it to the county, which is good news, especially since the county seems to be getting out of the water utility business anyway. So it would not be a wholesale relationship, and that was my fault. When I was prepping for the meeting, I didn't give him the 2016 agreement, so he didn't know that change had been made. Second thing is, I asked Penny to distribute to you this Third District Court of Appeal opinion. Not direct impact on anything we're doing, it's just an FYI kind of thing, another home rule kind of thing, but as you read it, and you can read it at your leisure, you will see, one, it's a case that we hate to see on our end, because it went up on appeal and it had bad facts. It had facts that an appellate court could look for a result in and maybe force a result, and I don't know if that's what happened here, but I don't like what happened with Chapter 160, with their interpretation of Chapter 162, which is the code enforcement statute, which has language in it that says, that those sections are supplemental. We can take any other lawful action to enforce our codes that we can. And the court applied a very narrow reading of that. And in the long run, it's a third DCA opinion. Lots of the other districts in the state sometimes go a different direction than the third DCA. It's to your question, Eric, this is not precedent for us yet. It is definitely persuasive in our district. But the various districts are not bound to follow their sister districts until the Supreme Court rules on something. But just to let you know why I say this was bad facts to go up on appeal, the city of Miami Beach is regulating short-term rentals. They adopted their short-term rental ordinance. Part of that imposed fines, and those fines started at $20,000 for a violation to $40,000 to $60,000 for a violation. Those are the bad facts, because the court sees that and the court says, this is bad, we need to do something about it. And sometimes, again, not saying that's what this court did, but sometimes a court may take a harsher interpretation of law to fix a fact pattern that they see as being blatantly wrong. And I'm worried that happened here. But in strictly interpreting that code enforcement language, it eats away at something we've relied on to say we have a lot of power to enforce our code in the way that we choose to enforce our code. We had those conversations earlier in the year. I mean, that's one of the things we were talking about with the parking. Yep, state, you have your guidelines, you have your ideas. It doesn't work here, we're going to go a different direction. And these kind of opinions really erode and chip away at that. So I just wanted you all to kind of have an opportunity to see what's going on, not just at the legislative level, but now at the judicial level as to really what are the powers of local governments. That's why you have that.
Thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Rick?
I have nothing. Everything seems to be going along rather well.
Enjoy while you can. We're gonna change that.
Okay, Penny?
I have one thing I provided you. The last meeting, we had a request from a resident to vacate an unimproved street. And at that meeting, you said it was okay to go forward with that. So we went back in staff reviews, and Fred had a minor hissy fit, but he's okay now. And asked him to provide you with this memorandum on the purpose he feels the city could use that property for. Well, first he's like, well, we just need to put a stipulation. I'm like, no, Fred, you don't understand. It doesn't work that way. It's all or nothing. So I said, put your memo together, let the commission decide if they want to retain this piece of property for the purpose you're described in your memo, or if they wish me to proceed with getting the ordinance ready to vacate it.
And what did we decide at the last meeting?
You told me to proceed with the
what I
vacation
thought.
part. But he does make a good point here, and you did just have a lot of flooding down there. I did talk to one of the neighbors, Mr. Tyler Ecker came in, and I talked to him, and I gave him a copy of the memo, and he wasn't too happy. Another happy stormwater customer. But I just told him it is what it is, so just need a.
Any reactions?
I did a lot of driving around during these storm events, and of course, we had some pretty heavy rains before the floods came. Two totally different deals. So I'm talking about rain event here now, not intercoastal flooding, tidal flooding. That is a very bad intersection. The whole intersection's underwater during a rain event. However, you can't insinuate the water straight through to the intercoastal, so I don't know what you could do with that property. I guess you could dig another hole like Fred likes to do.
Right, I think he wants a stormwater pond where it can filtrate down through the groundwater, just like a holding pond.
As long as we don't have tidal events, that could work, but I don't know. I probably should recuse myself from any vote on that anyway, because I'm buying a property there on that corner.
Oh.
So,
But you don't own either of the properties that we're talking about vacating.
I do not, no.
No.
However, just
So there's not a benefit for you there.
frontage on that street, but.
But there's a code enforcement issue with that still, right? That property?
Which one?
The one of the owners that wants to,
I'm not aware of a code enforcement. I haven't spoke to Bobby about that.
I knew there was a stop work order because they brought in fill and the swale was supposed to be cleared out.
Yes, engineering did approve a permit for that property. And I spoke with the owner. The problem that Lee Richards had explained to me was he did not put a swale along the front of the property. And the owner of the property did put that swale in.
So I'm personally out there digging it with a shovel.
So I believe they are in compliance now. I haven't had any feedback from engineering so far, but to the best of my knowledge, they are now in compliance.
Because originally I had a resident call me about that when I talked to Fred. He said that because they did bring in a bunch of fill, but they had not done the survey. So it was bounced over to code enforcement. So just might want to make sure that was taken care of.
I'll check
before we
that
move
first
forward,
thing.
you know.
First thing in the morning.
Okay, Ken, do you have anything? Eric?
On the 17th Street, my suggestion would be to stay the course of the original decision. I'll tell you why. We just semi-completed a phase one of a large swale project. And that has been engineered, worked through St. John's Water Management. We have a master plan. Making a after-the-fact retention pond and folks' yard that we happen to have rights to and own and all that's not part of it. And if it was part of it, it should have been part of a plan. And to, if we're vacating a property for all the right reasons and everything, and just to after the fact say, well, we might want to do something that we don't even know will work, or, it's just, I have a problem with that. And if we have a water issue, putting in some form of retention pond there, I don't see, I'm not an engineer, but I don't see that being the solution. I see having a master plan that's engineered through St. John's Water Management and being done exactly how we did our project so far is kind of the way to do it. And
I agree with you.
I think this isn't the right time to pull the e-brake on this. You know, this is not a surprise to anybody, and I just, I don't think it's the right thing to do, and I don't think that the benefit of stopping this particular initiative of what we already okayed it's not consistent. You know, we haven't talked about putting retention ponds in any of these other spots.
Right. To add to that, there's two properties, that corner property is going to have 150-foot frontage on the numbered street, on 17th Street. So they're going to be required to dig a swale all the way down, minus their driveway, if they have driveway in the side, and then on around the corner, 100 feet around the corner. So I know for a fact 2 houses are getting built there that are going to have to create swales. And somewhere in the future, I guess there may be some other swales dug on South Flagler through that section that's one section that has not had any stormwater projects go through there yet. So I think that would help get the water out of the roadway and make it unnecessary. And we don't have money to clear all those trees and dig holes anyway.
If it would even be part of, if the smart move is part of our master plan, it just,
If we have one.
yeah.
Yeah. You finished?
Hold on.
Debbie?
Done.
I think we agreed to do this at the last meeting.
We did.
If Fred had issues, every staff member sees the agenda before we have the meeting. If he had brought some of these issues to us prior to the last meeting,
Well, and-
maybe we would have voted differently.
Two, the question right now is, do you stop the process or do you continue in the process? You'll have 2 more public hearings at which information can be brought before you during that process because you don't know what the end result of the process is. Thus far, you've just agreed to start the process.
All right, poor wording. We did agree to move forward at the last meeting.
And that's the process that we've taken. An application comes in from the resident. I bring it to you to see if you're even interested in it. I didn't spoon feed it to Fred, but he does get everything the same time you do.
So I think we're
think she got it.
agreeing that we continue as we had planned. Is that all you need, or do you need a motion? or-
All I need.
And do you have any other?
It's that time of year when I'm cleaning out records that met their retention, my favorite time of year. I get to play Fawn Hall for a few weeks. But coming across that, I found the fish kind economic analysis we paid for the development across the street. This was when we were talking about annexing. So if anybody wants a copy of that, they can see it.
What is that exactly,
It's
Penny?
economic analysis of proposed annexation of Beulah Creek.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd love
We
to have
paid
that.
for it, so.
Yes,
Yeah.
please. I didn't know such a thing existed.
2001.
Okay. I think we all would. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Motion to adjourn.
I just had one question for Matt. I was reading your report, and I don't want to open up a hornet's nest, but I saw that there's a couple of incidents where individual got robbed or something like this, and I don't know, and it's unusual in this town, I thought, so I mean, I see cases like that, and I'm just like, is this because we're getting more visitors, or what's just happening? And I mean, like I said, I don't want to put people on alarm, but I'd like for them to be aware.
No, that's more or less an isolated incident.
Okay.
The problem is, we haven't found any video, even remotely close, that shows anything.
Okay.
I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying, right
Okay,
now,
that's
the
fine.
description is very, very limited, and it's one of those that very rarely happens. The first 6 months of this year, crime was down again double digits, so.
That's what I
It's not
thought, so.
something
Okay,
that
that's
does
good to
happen
hear.
very often.
Good to hear.
I didn't hear what you brought up.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was reading his report.
Yeah.
I try to read all that stuff and
Yeah, I
everything.
read it too.
And an individual was accosted and robbed.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Allegedly.
Okay, we had a motion to adjourn. Do we have a
I'll
second?
motion again.
Second.
Okay, good meeting, everybody.
Yes, thank you.
It was.
So to your question, Mary, because it's 2020, we've been up to our eyeballs in cisterns, removals, whatever.